If you've ever been ignored, cut off mid-sentence, or felt invisible in a conversation, it's not your words. It's your presence. It's the energy you project and the subtle cues you miss. Manipulators, the true masters of social dynamics, understand this intimately. They don't just speak, they engineer the very fabric of the exchange. The stakes are simple. If you don't master these principles, you will remain the clay, shaped by the unseen hands of those who do. You will be forever reactive, always explaining, always chasing understanding that is never granted. Your silence, once a sign of contemplation, will become a symbol of your insignificance. It ends now. Let's begin with the most unsettling weapon, the intentional use of nothing. Most people fear silence. They treat it like a void that must be filled, an awkward gap in the social fabric. This fear makes them predictable, vulnerable. But the master of influence, the one who truly controls the frame, understands that silence is not emptiness. It is a tool for psychological compression. It is a calculated pause, a subtle pressure point designed not to invite input, but to create profound discomfort in the other person, forcing them into your frame on your terms. Imagine you are mid-sentence, delivering a crucial point, and just as you reach the apex of your thought, you stop. Not with a question, not with an unfinished phrase, but with a complete thought followed by absolute stillness. Your gaze is unwavering, your expression unreadable. The other person's mind races. Did you finish? Are you waiting for a response? Are you judging their comprehension, their intelligence? This micro-pause, this intentional void, creates an itch in their subconscious. They feel an irresistible urge to fill the silence, to break the tension, to prove they are still engaged, still relevant. They will speak, but it will be a reaction, a desperate lunge into the silence you engineered. You have just forced their hand without saying a word. To wield this, you must master silence compression. When you deliver a point, especially one designed to land with impact, end your sentence. Then, for a moment, cease speaking entirely. Your eyes remain fixed, unblinking. Your posture holds firm. You might even lower your tone mid-sentence, almost imperceptibly, as if you are revealing a profound, weighty truth that demands immediate silent processing. The effect is immediate and profound. The other person's internal dialogue shifts from anticipating their turn to frantically trying to decode your stillness. They feel the pressure to respond, to confirm, to fill the space. But when they do, they are responding to your pause, not initiating their own thought. They fall in line. You have conditioned them to react to your tempo, to seek your unspoken permission to proceed. You are not waiting for them, you are commanding them to wait for you. Their interruption impulse dissolves, replaced by uncertainty, by a subconscious fear of misstepping in your presence. The second dark tactic is a subtle art of intimidation, not through aggression but through implied knowledge. It's about leveraging the universal human fear of appearing ignorant or unsophisticated. This is the unverifiable referent. Most conversations are linear, predictable exchanges of known information. But a master of influence understands that true power comes from operating beyond the known, from hinting at a deeper, more complex reality that only a select few truly understand. This creates a psychological barrier, a silent challenge that most people are unwilling or unable to cross. Imagine someone is about to interrupt you, their mouth already open, ready to interject. Then you drop a statement that implies a vast, unseen reservoir of high-level experience or secret knowledge without offering any specific details. You might say, in high-stakes negotiations, we never speak in absolutes. The truly informed know that. Or when discussing a potential pitfall, you state, I've seen this exact behavior backfire on people in power before, consistently. You haven't made a direct threat. You haven't offered a specific, debatable fact. You've simply implied a level of insight, a depth of experience that is beyond their current understanding. This isn't about bragging, it's about creating a subtle, unsettling aura of superior access to information. The psychological effect is immediate and devastating to their impulse to interrupt. Now they are not just disagreeing with your words, they are challenging an implied, unquantifiable authority. They become afraid. Afraid to look foolish, afraid to expose their lack of experience, afraid to contradict someone who might possess critical information they don't. Their mind begins to race not with counter-arguments but with questions. What does he know that I don't? What high-stakes negotiations is he referring to? Who are these people in power? They second-guess themselves, and that moment of internal doubt is your victory. Their interruption dies in their throat, replaced by a cautious silence, a new respect born from uncertainty. They don't just stop interrupting, they start filtering their own words lest they reveal their own uninitiated status. You haven't dominated them by force. You've dominated them by strategically invoking the unknown, making their ego their own worst enemy. The third principle exploits a primal human driver, the fear of loss. Most people perceive words as cheap, abundant, and endlessly available. If you speak too freely too often, your words lose their weight, their urgency. This is why people tune you out, why they feel comfortable cutting you off. But a master of influence understands that value is created through scarcity, through making access to your insights a rare, time-limited opportunity. This is scarcity framing. You don't just speak, you imbue your words with a manufactured urgency, a subtle ticking clock that demands immediate, undivided attention. Think about a rare commodity, a limited edition. Its value skyrockets not because of its intrinsic worth, but because of its restricted availability. Apply this same principle to your communication. You are not just offering an opinion, you are offering a glimpse into a valuable, potentially fleeting truth. Before delivering a crucial point, you preface it with a precise, almost clinical time constraint. You might lean in slightly, lower your voice, and state, "If you want me to be honest, I've only got 30 seconds to say this." Or, "I don't usually explain this to people, but here's the short version." The words are simple, but the implication is profound. You are not endlessly available. Your time, your insight, is a precious, limited resource. The psychological effect is an instant recalibration of their attention. The fear of missing out, of letting a valuable insight slip away, overrides their impulse to interrupt. Their internal chatter quiets. They become listeners, not just passive recipients, but active absorbers, hanging on your every word. Why? Because you have subtly raised the value of your contribution. You have transformed a casual exchange into a privileged moment. They stop waiting for their turn to speak and start desperately trying to absorb everything you're about to say before the window closes. You control the pace, the gravity, the very importance of the conversation. They don't just respect your words, they covet them. You have not just stopped an interruption. You have created a psychological bottleneck, forcing their attention through a narrow, valuable gate that only you control. You become the gatekeeper of insight, and they will obey. The fourth secret to unbreakable conversational control lies in an unsettling form of detachment, psychological elevation. Most people try to win conversations by engaging directly, by matching energy, by proving their point through direct argument. But this pulls them into the same low-level arena as everyone else. The true master of influence operates from a higher plane, viewing the interaction not as a direct conflict, but as a predictable display of human nature. This is the third-person disqualification. You speak about your ideas, about their behavior, about the very dynamics of the conversation, as if you are an impartial observer, a diagnostician analyzing the room from a superior vantage point. When someone attempts to interrupt or derail you, you don't react directly. You don't get defensive. Instead, you comment on their behavior or the general phenomenon of interruption in a clinical, almost academic third person. You might say with a calm, analytical tone, people who operate at a certain level just don't interrupt. It's interesting to watch who still does. Or if they exhibit a common flaw in their argument, you observe, that's something people usually figure out once they've been burned. You are not accusing them directly. You are merely stating a universal truth, a rule of a higher game that they, by their actions, are demonstrating they do not yet understand. The psychological effect is powerful and deeply unsettling. You have subtly elevated yourself above the fray, transforming their attempted interruption into a public display of their own lower status or lack of sophistication. Their ego takes a silent, precise hit. They are not being directly criticized, but they are being outed, subtly disqualified from your perceived higher level of discourse. This forces an immediate internal reevaluation. They become acutely aware that their actions are being observed, categorized, and judged against an unseen standard. The impulse to interrupt, to engage in petty verbal sparring, dissolves. It is replaced by a desire to align with your unspoken standard, to prove they do belong at that certain level. They don't just stop interrupting, they start performing for your silent, discerning gaze. You've installed a mental tripwire, a subconscious warning that their ego is at stake if they fail to align with the unwritten rules you've just revealed. Finally, the ultimate weapon for controlling conversational flow is not about what you say, but how you consistently enforce your right to say it. This is not about one-time reactions, it's about deep-seated psychological conditioning. It is vocal anchoring ritual. Most people react to interruptions inconsistently. Sometimes they let it go, sometimes they get angry, sometimes they try to talk over the other person. This unpredictability teaches the interrupter that there are no firm boundaries. But you, the master, will create an unwavering, subconscious association between interruption and immediate, consistent, precisely delivered correction. Choose a single short phrase. A phrase that you will deliver every single time, without exception, with the exact same calm, flat, unwavering tone, the moment someone attempts to cut you off. It could be "wait, let me finish," or simply "not yet," or even "that's later." The words themselves are less important than the consistency of their delivery. No anger, no escalation, no emotional investment. Just a clear, clinical, unyielding statement of fact, delivered with the quiet authority of an absolute rule. You are not asking for permission, you are enforcing a boundary. You are not debating, you are stating. You might even slightly lower your voice when delivering the anchor phrase, forcing them to strain just a little to hear your precise command. The psychological effect is a potent conditioning loop. Every time they try to interrupt, they are immediately met with this precise, unyielding verbal anchor. The discomfort of being gently but firmly corrected, always in the same way, becomes subconsciously associated with the act of interruption itself. Their brain begins to predict the correction the moment they feel the impulse to speak over you. They learn. They are trained. You are literally programming their subconscious to shut down their interruption reflex. You become their verbal master, their conversational shepherd. They don't just stop interrupting, they internalize your rule. The discomfort of the correction, consistently applied, outweighs the fleeting satisfaction of interjecting. You have installed a mental governor in their mind, controlling their impulses without them even realizing the source of their new obedience. You don't just control the conversation, you control their very urge to speak. These aren't tactics for everyone. Most people want to be liked, to be seen as agreeable, to avoid confrontation at all costs. But you are not here for that. You are here to own the room quietly. You are here to command attention without begging for it, to impose your frame without loud demands. These 5 tactics don't just stop interruptions, they turn conversations into subtle games of obedience where you are the unseen puppet master. They don't just change how people talk to you, they change how people think about you. You become the one who is calm, precise, unyielding, and ultimately undeniable. Use them. Test them. Watch the shift in people's eyes the moment they realize you're not playing by the usual social rules. Observe the subtle tremor in their voice when they realize they can no longer push you around. Feel the silent power as their impulsive interruptions die in their throat, replaced by a cautious, almost reverent attention. This is not about being liked, this is about being respected. This is not about persuasion, this is about control. The world bows to those who understand its hidden levers. Now you do. If this message has opened your eyes to the unseen currents of human interaction, don't just let it wash over you. Speak. Leave your mark below. Tell me which of these dark tactics resonates most deeply, which one you will implement first. This is not just a video, it is a catalyst for your transformation. If you are ready to move beyond being a participant and become the architect of every social exchange, then your journey has just begun. The path to unshakable presence and quiet dominance awaits.